Now I will read for you part 9 from the book Freedom from the Known from Jiddu Krishnamurti. It is a philosophical masterpiece, and when you put your headphones in your ears, you hear an amazing ASMR sound, crystal clear, made here for you. So come with me and enjoy the words I will read for you. R.S.M.R. Katz. Freedom is a state of mind. Not freedom from something, but a sense of freedom. A freedom to doubt and questioning everything, and therefore so intense, active, and vigorous that it throws away every form of dependency, slavery, conformity, and expectancy. Such freedom implies being completely alone. But can the mind, brought up in a culture so dependent on environment and its own tendency, ever find that freedom which is completely solitude and in which there is no leadership, no tradition, and no authority? This solitude is an inward state of mind, which is not dependent on any stimulus or any knowledge, and is not the result of any experience or conclusion. Most of us inwardly are never alone. There is a difference between isolation, cutting ourselves off, and aloneness solitude. We all know what it is to be isolated, building a wall around oneself in order never to be hurt, never to be vulnerable, or cultivating detachment, which is another form of agony, or living in some dreamy ivory tower of ideology. Aloneness is something quite different. You are never alone because you are full of all the memories, all the conditioning, all the mutterings of yesterday. Your mind is never clear of all the rubbish it has accumulated. To be alone, you must die to the past. When you are alone, totally alone, not belonging to any family, any nation, any culture, any particular condition, there is that sense of being an outsider. The man who is completely alone in this way is innocent, and it is innocency that frees the mind from sorrow. We carry about with us the burden of what the thousands of people have said and the memories of all our misfortunes. To abandon all that totally is to be alone, and the mind that is alone is not only innocent, but young. Not in time or age, but young and innocent, alive at whatever age, and only such a mind can see that which is the truth and that which is not measurable by words. In this solitude, you will begin to understand the necessity of living with yourself as you are, not as you think you should be or as you have been. So if you can look at yourself without any tremor, any false modesty, any fear, any justification or contamination, just live with yourself as you actually are. It is only when you live with something intimately that you begin to understand it. But the moment you get used to it, get used to your own anxiety or envy or whatever it is, you are no longer living with it. If you live by a river, after a few days, you do not hear the sound of the water anymore, or if you have a picture in the room which you see every day, you lose it after a week. It is the same with the mountains, the valleys and the trees. The same with your family, your husband and your wife. But to live with something like jealousy, envy or anxiety, you must never get used to it, never accept it. You must care for it as you would care for a newly planted tree. Protect it against the sun, against the storm. You must care for it, not condemn it or justify it. Therefore, you begin to love it. When you care for it, you are beginning to love it. It is not that you love being envious or anxious, as so many people do, but rather that you care for watching. So can you and I live with what we actually are, knowing ourselves to be dull, envious, fearful, believing we have tremendous affection when we have not, getting easily hurt, easily flattered and bored. Can we live with all that? Neither accepting it or denying it, but just obviating it without becoming morbid, depressed, or elated. Now, let us ask ourselves a further question. Is this freedom, this solitude, this coming into contact with the whole structure of what we are in ourselves, is it to be coming up through time? That is freedom to be achieved through a gradual process? Obviously not, because as soon as you introduce time, you are absolving yourself more and more. You cannot become free gratuitously. It is not a matter of time. The next question is, can you become conscious of the freedom? If you say, I am free, then you are not free. It is like a man saying, I am happy. The moment he says, I am happy, he is living in a memory of something that is gone. Freedom can only come about naturally, not through wishing, wanting, or longing. Nor will you find it be creating an image of what you think it is. To come upon it, the mind has to learn to look at life, which is a vast movement without the bondage of time, for freedom lies beyond the field of consciousness. Time, sorrow, and death. I am tempted to repeat a story about a great display going to good and demanding to be taught truth. This poor god says, my friend, it is such a hot day. Please get me a glass of water. So the displace goes out and knocks on the door of the first house he comes to, and a beautiful young lady opens the door. The displace falls in love with her, and they marry and have several children. Then one day it begins to rain, and keeps on raining and raining and raining. The torrents are swollen, the streets are full, the houses are being washed away. The displace holds on to his wife and carries his children on his shoulders, and he has being swept away. He calls out, Lord, please save me. And the Lord says, where is the glass of water I asked for? It is rather a good story, because most of us thinking in terms of time, many lives by time. Inventing the future has been his future game of escape. We think that changes in ourselves can come about in time, that order in ourselves can be built up little by little, added day by day. But time doesn't bring order or peace. So we must stop thinking in terms of gradualness. This means that there is no tomorrow for us to be peaceful in. We have to be orderly on the instant. When there is real danger, time disappears, doesn't it? There is immediate action, but we do not see the danger of many of our problems, and therefore we invent time as a means of overcoming them. Time is a desire as it doesn't do a thing to help us, bring about a change in ourselves. Time is a movement which man has divided into past, present, and future, and as long as he divided it, he will always be in conflict. It learning a matter of time. We have not learned, after all this thousands of years, that there is a better way to live than by hating and killing each other. The problem of time is a very important one to understand, if we are to resolve this life which we have helped to make as monstrous and meaningless as it is. The first thing to understand is that we can look at the time only with the freshness and innocency of mind, which we have already been into. We are confused about our many problems and lost in the confusion. Now, if one is lost in a wood, what is the first thing does? On stops, doesn't one? On stops and looks around. But the more we are confused and lost in the life, the more we chase around, searching, asking, demanding and pegging. So the first thing, if I may suggest it, is that you completely stop inwardly. And when you do stop inwardly, psychology, your mind becomes very, very peaceful, very clear. Then you can really look at the question of time. Problems exist only in time. That is when we meet an issue incompletely. This incomplete coming together with the issue creates the problem. When we meet a challenge particularly, fragmentally, or try to escape from it, that is when we meet it with our completely attention. We bring about a problem. And the problem continues so long as we continue to give it incomplete attention, so long as we hope to solve it one of these days. Do you know what time is? Not by the watch, not chronological, but psychological time. It is the involve between idea and action. An idea is for self-protection, obviously. It is the idea of being secure. Action is always immediate. It is not of the past or of the future. To act must always be in the present, but action is so dangerous, so uncertain, that we conform to an idea which we hope will give us a certain safety. Do look at this in yourself. You have an idea of what is right or wrong, or an ideological concept about yourself and society. And according to that idea, you are going to act. Therefore, the action is in conformity with that idea, approximating to the idea, and hence there is always conflict. There is the idea, the interval and action, and in that interval is the whole file of time. That interval is essentially thought. When you think you will be happy tomorrow, then you have an image of yourself achieving a certain result in time. Throughout observation, through desire, and the continuity of that desire sustained by further thought, says, tomorrow I shall be happy. Tomorrow I shall have success. Tomorrow the world will be a peaceful place. So thought created that interval which is time. Now We are asking, can we put a stop to time? Can we live so completely that there is no tomorrow for thought to think about? Because time is sorrow. That is yesterday or 1,000 yesterdays ago. You loved or you had a combination who has gone, and that memory remains, and you are thinking about that pleasure and that pain. You are looking back, wishing, hoping, regretting. So thought going over it again and again breathes the thing we will call sorrow and gives continuity to time. So long as there is this interval of time which has been breathed by thought, there must be sorrow. There must be continuity of fear. So one asks oneself, can this interval come to an end? If you say, will it ever end? Then it is already an idea, something you want to achieve, and therefore you have an interval and you are caught again. Now take the question of death, which is an immense problem to most people. You know death. There it is walking every day by your side. It is possible to meet it so completely that you do not make a problem of it at all. In order to meet it in such a way, all I believe, all hope, all fear about it must come to an end. Otherwise, you are meeting this extraordinary thing with a conclusion, an image, with premeditated anxiety, and therefore you are meeting it with time. Time is the interval between the observed and the observed. That is the observer. You is afraid to meet this thing calling death. You don't know what it means. You have all kind of hopes and theories about it. You believe in reincarnation or resurrection or in something called the soul, the Atman, a spiritual entity which is timeless and which you call by different names. Now, have you found out for yourself whether there is a soul? Or is it an idea that has been handed down to you? Is there something permanent, continuous, which is beyond thought? If thought can think about it, it is within the field of thought, and therefore it cannot be permanent, because there is nothing permanent within the field of thought. To discover that nothing is permanent is of tremendous importance, for only then is it the mind free. Then you can look, and in there is a great joy. You cannot be frightened of the unknown, because you do not know what the unknown is, and so there is nothing to be frightened of. Death is a word, and it is a word, the image that creates fear. So can you look at death without the image of death? As long as the image exists from which springs thought, thought must always create fear. Then you either rationalize your fear of death and build a resistance against the inevitability, or you invent immeasurable beliefs to protect you from the fear of death. Hence, there is a gap between you and the thing of which you are afraid. In this time-space interval, there must be conflict, which is fear, anxiety, and self-pity. Thought, which breeds the fear of death, says, let's postpone it, let's avoid it, keep it as far away as possible. Let's not think about it, but you are thinking about it when you say, I won't think about it. You have already thought out how to avoid it. You are frightened of death because you have postponed it. We have separately living from dying, and the interval between the living and the dying is fear. That interval, that time is created by fear. Living is our daily torture, daily insult, sorrow and confusion, with opening of a window over ancient seas. That is what we call living, and we are afraid to die, which is to end this misery. We would rather cling to the known than face the unknown. The known being our house, our furniture, our family, our character, our work, our knowledge, our fame, our loneliness, our goods, that little thing that moves around instantly within itself, with its own limited pattern of embittered existence. We think that living is always in the present and that dying is something that awaits us at a distant time, but we have ever never questioned whether this battle of everyday life is living at all. We want to know the truth about reincarnation. We want to prove of the survival of the soul. We listen to the assertion and to the conclusion of psychical research, but we never ask, never how to live. To live with delight, with enchantment, with beauty every day. We have accepted life as it is, with all its agony and despair, and have got used to it, and think of death or something to be carefully avoided. But death is extraordinarily like life, when we know how to live. You cannot live without dying. You cannot live if you do not die, psychological every minute. This is not an intellectual paradox. To live completely, wholly, every day as if it were a new love lines. There must be dying to everything of yesterday, otherwise you live mechanically, and a mechanical mind can never know what love is or what freedom is. To find out, most of us are frightened of dying because we don't know what it means to live. We don't know how to live. Therefore, we don't know how to die. As long as we are frightened of life, we shall be frightened of death. The man who is not frightened of life is not frightened of being completely insecure, for he understands that inwardly, psychological, there is no security. When there is no security, there is an endless movement, and then life and death are the same. The man who lives without conflict, who lives with beauty and love, is not frightened of death, because to love is to die. If you die to everything you know, including your family, your memory, everything you have felt, then death is purification, a rejuvenating process. Then death brings innocence, and it's only to innocent who are passionate, not the people who believe or who want to find out what happens after death. To find out actually what takes place when you die, you must die. This isn't a joke. You must die, not physically, but psychologically, inwardly. Die to the things you have cherished and to the things you are bitter about. If you have died to one of your pleasures, the smallest or the greatest, naturally, without any enforcement or argument, then You will know what it means to die. To die is to have a mind that is completely empty of itself, empty of its daily loneliness, pleasures and agonies. Death is renewal, a mutation in which thought does not function at all, because thought is old. When there is death, there is something totally new. Freedom from the known is death, and then you are living. Oh, wow. This was a beautiful part. I have goosebumps. Amazing. The book I read is Freedom from the Known from Krishnamurti. I read it in different parts, and I hope that you are able to read the parts after another or listen to the parts after another with me, because I think it is important that you don't have the full book, that you have the little parts where you are able to think about it, where you not just listen to it, where you are able to think about it and take it deep in your mind. Because this book is a deep philosophical book with so many amazing things inside. And it is all about you and what you make out of it. And this is the absolutely intense and wonderful thing on Krishnamurti, a great philosopher. My name is ASMR Katz, and I warmly welcome you to my YouTube channel. If you already like this little clip, then feel free to follow and subscribe to my channel. Every Wednesday and Sunday I will upload a new video. So when you click on the notification bell, you will get the latest updates. I am more than happy to read in the comments your thoughts, your ideas, things that you want to see in the future here on my page, because I love interaction and I try to keep track and answer all your questions and all your comments as soon as possible. When you already like this book, I read already all Dr. Seuss's books as well. They are different to this philosophical book, but I would say when you are able to read between the lines, they are not that different as well. You are more than welcome to follow all my other videos as well. I make mukbang, I make motivation ASMR, I have a lot of different ASMR clips because I'm a tattoo girl who likes to take you on the adventure of sound. And with so many minimalistic things, you can make a big impact. And this is the joy of my way of ASMR, because there are no rules in ASMR. They can calm you down, you can relax and fall to sleep, but they also can go over all your triggers and tingles. And I try to whisper all the things in your ear, that all the triggers and tingles are on for you. So feel free to check out all my other clips, and hopefully we will see us to the next part of the book from Krishnamurti, Freedom of the Known. And you are more than welcome to check out all my other clips as well. So I hope we see us very soon again, and I wish you a pleasant time, and thank you so much for being part here on my ASMR adventure.